Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Devas, praying to Lord Krishna in the womb, knowing that he was about to make his advent, had said, Swayambhu jaksha kila sattvadamni samadhi naveshiti chetasaike Tvat-pāda-potena mahat-kṛtena kuravantika vatsapadam bhavantim. And that is that one need only give one's full attention, meditate on Krishna, because he's the source of everything. We're all looking for the ultimate object of meditation in the world. And Srimad Bhagavatam is forthcoming with that object of meditation. It's Krishna. His form is more beautiful, as Brahma describes it, than millions of cupids. And we need a personal form, not something impersonal. What's more, he can fully reciprocate with every living being, because he's unlimitedly dimensional. Yat chakshar esha sabita sakala garhana ekopya sora charitum jagaranda kotyam yat shakti rasti jagaranda chayayaranda andantarasta paramanu chayantarastam Govinda mari purusham maham bhajami. As the source of everything, if one meditates on Krishna, not only does he reciprocate, but he can reciprocate unlimitedly. In fact, one of his names is Vanchatita, which means he fulfills one's desires more than one can desire oneself. It's also known as Vrishakapi, which indicates that he's the one upon whom, when one meditates upon Krishna, Krishna is inclined to fulfill all that person's desires, to remove all miseries from that person's life and remove all obstacles. So the admonition by the demigods, specifically Brahma is mentioned as representing all of them, offering prayers to Krishna on their behalf. Swayambhu jaksha kila sattvadami. He's a lotus-eyed. He's a person. Samadhina means that one can be fully absorbed there and never disappointed. Samadhina veshita chetasaike. Eka means one-pointed, just as Sutta Goswami says in the Bhagavatam, Tasmad ekena manasa Bhagavan sattvatam pati shrotavya kirtitavyasya dhyaya pujam chanityara. He said the same thing. He said, therefore, he's giving a concluding statement, with one-pointed attention, one should worship Krishna. One should think of him, offer obeisances. Krishna says the same thing in Bhagavad Gita, Manmana bhavamad bhakto. So Krishna consciousness is simple in that it's one thing, not many things. It's not complicated, it's simple. One need only fix one's mind on Krishna. And how? Somehow or other. Yena tena prakarena mahat-kṛtena niveshaya. This is the admonition of the Shastra, Rupa Goswami. Somehow or other, yena tena prakarena, or some people say yena tena prakarena. Sound like a dance. Mahat-kṛtena niveshaya means somehow or other fix your mind on Krishna. So Brahma is saying that. Samadhi naveshita chetasaike. And then he gives the process, how we might do that. Tvat-pāda-potena, mahat-kṛtena. He said that there are the mahats, the great acharyas, those who have showed the path, how to organize one's life around the system of always thinking of Krishna and never forgetting him. And those great devotees make a process for themselves and they leave it behind for others, so that other people can follow in their footsteps. And this is one of the other simple principles. Vejare muniyo tagre bhagavantama toksajam sattvam vishudham shemaya kalpante yenu taniha. Sutta says, first canto, second chapter. And previously, the great sages, they fixed their mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Due to being is beyond the three modes of material nature. He's Turiya. It's beyond the three modes. He's in the fourth dimension. Anyone who follows those sages is also eligible for the same result that they got. Kalpante nutaniha. In this world, you may have a complicated life. You may think yourself unqualified. Don't worry. If you follow in the footsteps of the sages, you'll be successful. Tvat-pāda-potena mahat-kṛtena means if you follow the process given by the greats, then you'll be boarding a boat. Or, that comes in the next verse, but in this verse says that the ocean of complexity, which is this material world, it shrinks for those who have the process. How small? The size of the hoof print of a calf. Then one can easily step over it. And in the next verse, Brahma goes on and describes how that becomes a boat where we can cross the material ocean, but when you approach the boat, the ocean shrinks. And Prabhupada explains in the purport how we're part of what's called the Ācārya-sampradāya. When we come to an ISKCON temple, we find that Prabhupada is prominently seated there. Now, that's lucky for us. If you go to see Rādhā-Govinda in Jaipur for mangala-ārti, no doubt one of the most ecstatic experiences in the world, and you're going to see Rādhā-Govinda. But you won't find a prominently seated Ācārya somewhere. If you go to the temples of Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura, in Māyāpur, his flagship temple, you'll find all the acharyas. In fact, they're situated in a circle around Gandharvikā Giridhārī. And you can go see each one where their origin is. Each one comes from a divine origin passed down to other mahats, other greats. And he emphasized that, as do all the acharyas, and as does Krishna himself. Ācāryaṁ, vijānīyān, navamanyeta, karhicit. One should respect the Ācārya-sampradāya, Krishna says. Don't consider that they're ordinary people. Consider that you should say they're the sum total better than all the demigods put together, and not ordinary. So we have this clear object of meditation. We also have clear path that one may follow to follow in the footsteps of the acharyas. It consists of what we've been given. And those who follow the simple path strictly are the most successful. Because, as Prabhupada mentions in his purport to the verse I first quoted, Krishna honors the path of the Acharyas. As he honored Narada's words, when Narada had encountered Nalakuvara and Manigriva, they were acting in undignified ways. They're sons of Kubera. It's one of the ways that wealth or any other kind of opulence may corrupt one. Therefore Kunti says, Janmaishvarya Shrita Shibir, Edamanamada Puma Naivar Yavidatumbai, Toma Kinshana Gocharam. Be careful not to become carried away by whatever assets you've been loaned for a temporary amount of time. Nalakuvara and Manigriva took to intoxication and consorting with women, dancing, playing in the water naked. When Narada came, they didn't even cover themselves, whereas the ladies did. So Narada, out of compassion then, said that because you don't mind exposing yourself to everybody, then try it out for a while as trees. And they became twin Arjuna trees in Vrindavan. It's the curse of the Acharya, or Krishna's curse, or his chastisement becomes a great benediction. Fast forward, everyone knows how the trees were pulled down when Krishna was pulling the grinding mortar. And Krishna was most attentive to the words of Narada that when you meet Krishna during his Leela in Vrindavan, thousands of years hence, then he'll benedict you. Krishna remembered those words. He said, okay, now I've pulled these trees down. Or he said, I have to pull these trees down based on Narada's guidance. And he went to great lengths to pull the tree. Of course, it wasn't difficult for him. He just entangled the grinding mortar and just kept crawling. As one who knows the trees in Vrindavan knows that the Arjuna trees are the most stealth. They're the strongest trees. Very difficult to topple. Krishna easily toppled them. And then he gave benediction, personal audience to Nalakuvara and Manigriva. So the point Prabhupada brings there is that if you can get the mercy of the Acharya, then Krishna will remember you, look on you fondly. So three things. One is that it's a simple process, just think of Krishna. It's one thing. Man-mana bhava mad-bhakto. Just remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. Those are the only two rules you have to follow. Everything else is a servant to those. If it inhibits your remembering Krishna, then don't do it. If it augments, then do it. And second one is to follow in the footsteps of the great souls. Find out what the Acharyas have said and just follow that. Everyone's got their opinion, right? But we take the opinion of Śrīla Prabhupāda, we take the opinion of Śrīla Vishwanath Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Who wouldn't want to take the advice of Bhaktivinoda Thakur? Rupa Goswami makes it clear what his advice is. He wrote a book called the Upadeshamrita. Here's the essence of all advice, he says there. I quoted this morning, Tannama Rupa Charitati Sukirtananu, etc. He says, simple thing, hear and chant, follow in the footsteps of the sages, do the process of bhakti. And so we have that, and we have the opportunity to overcome all the complexities of life. The main complexity that nobody seems to want to talk about is that you have to die. And that's a question one should answer. How do I overcome death? That's a question one should ask and answer. And that's answered in the Bhagavad Gita. It's answered in the Srimad Bhagavatam. But who wants to take time to read that? Not many people. So you're all rare souls because you've taken to the Ācārya-sampradāya, you're following it, and you're also remembering Krishna 24 hours a day. That's all you do. You cook for Krishna, you chant for Krishna, you raise children for Krishna, you work for Krishna. Everything is Krishna. And as we're attentive to that, we'll find that we're endowed with the qualities of Krishna. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatiya kinchana sarvar gunas tatra samasate sura harava bhaktasya kuto mahad-guna manoratin asati davato bihi. 5th canto. 5.18.12. The overture of 5.18.12. There's a way in which when you serve Krishna, you think of Krishna, what do you get? You get the qualities of Krishna. You already have them, but they emerge because of your attentiveness to following the footsteps of the Acharyas, by following their system. Whatever system has been passed down to you, don't worry what other people have as a system. Just take your system that you got, verify it's coming down through the chain of Ācārya-sampradāya, and say, okay, I've got my system. And then one thing to do only is remember Krishna. And then naturally the good qualities of the devas emerge, or as Jiva Goswami says in the Bhakti-rasa-prita Sindhu, the qualities that you'll develop from these two processes, remembering Krishna always and following the Ācārya-sampradāya. He says what this verse means is the devas will want to live with you because your qualities become so pronounced. Spiritual qualities become pronounced, and the devas will say, well, where do we want to be with this person who's following the Ācārya-sampradāya, who's meditating on Krishna? In the Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto, Krishna talks about the path of developing mystic powers. And he describes how the yogis who have some desire to manipulate the material energy, albeit in a fantastical and subtle way, meditate on elements. The whole material world has various energies, and they have characteristics. And one is able to find the origin of those energies, and then fix one's mind. Always remember that energy, never forget it, and be fully fixed in it. Then one starts to take on the qualities of that energy. For instance, that's how yogis levitate. They take on an airy quality, and their whole being becomes absorbed in that through their connection to the energy, and they're able to lift up. But Krishna says in that chapter, why meditate on air when you can meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Why would you waste your time meditating on earth or air or ether or any of the elements in the material world? Just meditate on me and everything's available. So this is our great opportunity. No doubt we have a gross material body. You can feel it. But when you think of Krishna, you'll start to take on Krishna's qualities. And you say, well, how can I think of Krishna? He's already gone. Krishna swadamo bhagate dharma ganadi visaha kala nashta drishamesha puranarko danodita. Well, he just came back. Immediately when he left, he came back again. How did he come back? Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, Śrīla Prabhupada emphasized the Srimad Bhagavatam. He said, if people are able to read and hear Srimad Bhagavatam, then they'll be able to attain the perfection of life. He brought it with him. He left us the Srimad Bhagavatam. And he gave us the commentaries of the Acharyas. Everything is there complete. We're on a boat already because we're following the process. Prabhupada sometimes described ISKCON as a boat. Are there choppy waters? Yeah. That's why you need a captain. Ride hamadhyam sulabham sadulabham pabham sukalpam guru karnadara. Mayana kulina navastvateri tam. What's the last line? Puvan virajeta viraj. No, that's the other one. Puvan bababdim nataretsa maha. Says that the human body, ride hamadhyam sulabham. It's very rare. You don't get one of these any old day of the week. It's a great award given by the material nature. And then it says, Nrideham Adyam Sulabham Plavam Sukalpam. It's a boat. You can cross the ocean of material existence with this. And then he said, make sure you have favorable breezes to fly the boat across the water. Hearing and chanting. If you want to go faster, anybody? 3 people? 5, 6, 7? Then hear more. Read Srimad Bhagavatam. It's free will. It's not time, it's taste. If you want taste, you have association and you got to force yourself to do it. So you gradually catch the bug, the Krishna bug, the Bhagavatam bug. And if you really want to excel in life, get a PhD in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Don't dabble. Go right in. Feel free to dive in. All the acharyas say, feel free to dive right in, all the way. Not little toe, not a little sprinkle on your head, but just dive in. Shabde Brahma Janishnatam Brahma Upashamashrayam. No other business, only Bhagavatam. Then you're remembering Krishna 24 hours a day. Or at least Nityam Bhagavata Seva, it means at least once a day. Don't miss it. Don't miss it. Great opportunity. And also make sure you have a captain. Everyone needs a coach. Everyone if you want to excel, you always have to have somebody standing over you saying, a little faster, 5 more, keep going, wake up. Otherwise, it's quite natural for every one of the organs in the body to shut down to save energy, just like your phone. Unless you set it on constant, where it's always on, it never shuts down. And then it's like, every one of our senses also, if you just leave it for a while, it just shuts down, it turns itself off, save energy, regenerate. And I'm not talking about becoming overstimulated in life, but I'm talking about resisting the ways in which we naturally turn or allow ourselves to drift away. We have to stay the course throughout at least this one lifetime. From pillar to post. I got that from India. It's an English thing. Pillar to post. Start in the beginning, and somehow, even if your horse trips along the way, mixing metaphors, just get up and keep going. The greatest reels on YouTube are the ones they show some guy tripped in the beginning of the race. Everyone counted him out. He's half a length behind, somehow with grit, catches up. And then, what? He passed everybody. You don't have to pass everybody, but you do have to stay in the race. And Prabhupada gave us everything. ISKCON's a great shelter for the world. It's full of people, so there's going to be problems. That's a caveat. Wherever there's people. So you go to some other place, you're going to find people, you're going to find problems. Because people are interesting. It's all mixtures of modes, nature. Everyone has complexities. There's some people that have ulterior motives. But oncoming cliche, I like saying cliches because then I look into them more closely, and there's a reason they're cliche. They've been used so many times because they're so apt at throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It's kind of amusing, except for the baby. Be careful. Don't miss the opportunity. It's too great. You've already found something that's certified by Ācārya's, verifiably. And that's the way, last thing I'll say for a moment. It's what Shukadeva Goswami says, same mood as I'm speaking right now. In the second canto of the Bhagavatam, Etam nirvidyamananam ichatam akatobayam. Yoginam nripanirnitam harinamana-kṛtena. He said, this is nirnitam, this process that I'm passing down. He said, this has been vetted by all the Ācāryas. Shukadeva's into the Ācārya-sampradāya. He says, all the Ācāryas have vetted this. It's a perfect system. What is it? Chant Hare Krishna. Who does it work for? Name any person. He just gives a list. And he said, he gives all these categories of person. Yoginam nripanirja, yogi, a king. Anybody. It's vetted for everybody in the world. That's the Ācārya-sampradāya. So don't worry if you really think you're not good at it. Don't worry if you think you're the slowest person on the track. Doesn't matter. If you just keep going, then all good qualities will come by the power of the holy name and the Srimad Bhagavatam. And by dint of following the Ācārya-sampradāya. That counts for something. That's why we wear these beads. You know, why do you wear this? I'm in the Ācārya-sampradāya. I have a guru. And if other people that's like, oh, guru this, guru that, too bad for you. You couldn't get a guru. Yeah, you're too cynical. You have to have a soft heart and say, I'm gonna fall in line somewhere in this world, and I'm gonna make my stand as a spirit soul to come to the perfection of life, and come what may, I'm gonna make this my preoccupation in life. Even though I'm the worst person at it in the world, I'm gonna keep going, and I'm gonna stay on the track. I'll crawl across the finish line if I have to. And I'm just really impressed with all of you, and thank you for giving your heart and soul to this process and doing your level best to help spread Krishna consciousness in various ways. Everyone has some talent. Just use it in Krishna's service, and follow the Ācārya-sampradāya no matter what happens, and stay in the process. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.
We have some questions.
Okay.
Should I read them out?
Yes.
The first question is by Aruna Keshari, and the question is, service chanting is ever increasing, but time isn't. So how do you complete everything?
Well, it helps to prioritize, because we find that if somebody has some talent, then in our volunteer organization, everyone's going to ask him to do something. You'll walk a gauntlet. Just walking out of the temple room, you'll get 3 people ask you, hey, would you like to help with this? Would you like to help with that? At some point, you have to prioritize what's most important to you. It's helpful to have a primary service. That's your life and soul. And then some other things that you do for your variety in your life. But good to have, when it comes to the end, and everyone says, this person stood for doing this. So my main answer, to keep it short, because Nikula said I can't give a short answer,
He's going to
is
show me.
just watch this. Prioritize. Take some time to prioritize what's the most important to you. It's important in all aspects of life, is to write it down, decide what is most important, and then stick with that. And cut out the kind of things that you really, in your heart, you've realized that it's not your main thing. You love to do it, but you can't do it right now, and you have to have the courage to tell other people that I have to focus on these other things right now.
Thank you, Maharaj.
If you have
The
anything to
next
say, just let
question
me know.
is by Rad.
Yes.
May I continue?
You want to point out anything?
No, fine.
Okay. Yes, please.
The next question is by Radhika Rasika Prabhu. How can we be detached, or as Śrīla Prabhupāda says, aloof, from material entanglement while still fulfilling our duties to family and relatives with love and responsibility?
Chant good rounds. Chant great rounds. Focus on chanting Hare Krishna and hearing Krishna's name without diverting your mind to other topics. And keep bringing your mind back to the name of Krishna. And when you're chanting, be very present and realize that Krishna is fully present for you in His holy name. And if you do that, then you'll have strength and aloofness. Aloofness is a kind of strength to resist anything in the material world. Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janaya Yashivayaragyam Jnanam Chaya Harikam. When you attend properly to your service to Krishna, then naturally knowledge and detachment comes into your heart. You don't have to, they throw it in extra, just like undercoating for your car. It's like, we're going to throw this in free. Hare Krishna.
The next question is by Rasika Gorangi.
Other Rasikas.
How to keep young kids engaged and interested in Krishna consciousness? For a parent, that is the main goal, that the kids stay on the right path.
So are you listening, kids? Yeah, I know, I see you. So the main thing is, we found that, I would say 20 years ago, I wouldn't be able to say anything about this. Nor would I be that much interested in the question, but I am now. And the formula that I've found that is most important is to create environments where kids see other kids doing great. Peers, when they see peers doing great. That's the main thing for kids. When they see other kids who they respect, they look at them and they say, well, I want to be like that. And they see them showing up for Bhagavatam class or chanting Hare Krishna or going on yatras or whatever it may be, then they naturally gravitate towards that. And the other is to try to empower kids as soon as possible. When they show talent for something, give your trust to them, empower them to do services and take over something that they can manage themselves, because they're a lot smarter than one might think, and in most cases, or I'd say in all cases, when it comes to me, they're a lot smarter than me, I'm finding. So those are the two things. Okay? I stole all her stuff.
Next question.
Yes?
Kevala Bhakti Prabhu is asking, what verses from Shastra can give the mind respite from ongoing wars? We know of devotees directly affected by the Israeli-Palestinian and Russia-Ukraine conflicts. These devotees understand this is the nature of the material world, yet they have friends and family directly affected by the conflicts. Is there a good chapter from Bhagavad Gita to read, or select verses from the Śrīmad Bhagavatam?
They're all important. The main point is to be absorbed in Shastra. We have to be absorbed in something. And what I spoke about earlier was Śrīmad Bhagavatam's directive that fix your mind on Krishna. And of course, somebody who has a loved one in a dangerous area may become very concerned with that. But if you think about it on a larger existential level, we all have loved ones in a dangerous area. We stepped into the material world. Abrahma bhuvana loka puna avartano arjuna mamupete tukonteya punar janma navidite. We're in a danger zone. Padam padam vipadam. Everybody's basically in a war zone. And we're all threatened by non-existence at every second. When it's more concentrated in a place where there's a disaster, everyone becomes hyper aware of it. But if you expand your awareness to the fact that everybody's in the same situation, then the common cure is to be in samadhi on Krishna. Samadhi naveshita cheta saike. I know when I study Shastra, it's the most peaceful time I ever have. I don't just close the door, close the outside world, and be absorbed in any Shastra, because it's transcendental. And of course, there are verses that you'll find that are especially meaningful to you. And they come by Krishna's grace. And that comes from association with devotees, doing your devotional service. And Krishna will reveal ways to assuage the fears that we have in any aspect of our life if we're just attentive. Sarvasya hridi sani vishno matak smritir gyanamam. He helps us to remember, oh yeah, this is how to take shelter in the material world. So, it's a specific question about people who have loved ones in that situation. But it just reminds me of another area of advice that I've been freely giving. Because it works for me, as I don't watch the news, in fact I avoid it. Unless it just comes to me naturally, and I can't avoid it. Somebody walks up or says something or whatever, and I can tell at intervals what's going on in the world. I already know categorically what's happening. And I know more specifically that there's a war here, and there's a political strife here and there, and so forth. But do I really want to mainstream that into my brain? And it begs the question, it's like, if it's causing you pain and anxiety, then why consume it too much? Why consume it at all? We're not obligated You don't have to, unless it's your service, to give morning announcements and tell everybody what happened in one place or another. So limit exposure and also try to do good for those who are in such situations by giving them your compassionate association and giving them spiritual advice when they're open for it. Depends who they are. Those are a few thoughts.
Question by Kamalakanta Acharya Prabhu.
And don't scroll. Because it's random. Scrolling means you didn't plan on doing it, you just do it for some stimulation. But the more planned you are and where you place your attention, the more you'll feel enlivened. It drains, and scrolling, since not on a phone or a computer, can also be the way you look at the world and just randomly consume it. You should have context for everything. That's why Krishna gives context in the Bhagavad Gita. He says when you smell earth, then you go, oh, that's Krishna. When you taste water, you say, that's Krishna. That's not random. That's very deliberately remembering Krishna. So don't scroll the world. Don't scroll people unless you're trying to see Krishna in them. And don't do this. Unless you're looking for something like a kirtan, and then you're safe because you're going across the water and finding a landing place. Sorry, go ahead.
How do you develop unflinching faith like Prahlad Maharaj or Krishna? This is Kamalakanta Acharya.
I'll ask Nirkula to answer this one.
We all face challenges, and unless we face those challenges, unless we have those challenges, we won't know that we have unflinching faith. So during those times, what I've done is taken shelter of my association, of Śrīla Prabhupāda's books, and my seva. What does Prabhu say? And it's true. And so by taking advantage of those three things, and of course your sadhana, japa, that is what has helped me in the past overcome those kinds of challenges. And that's, unless we face challenges, unless we have challenges, we can think we're doing great. We can think we have developed Krishna, we have developed our eternal relationship with Krishna. But it takes time. We have to have time and patience and tolerance and just follow the process. And if we just stick it out, if we just keep doing one day at a time, put the foot forward and just keep doing it. Don't get caught in the future or caught in the past, just stay in the present. And that really will help you develop unflinching faith. It's there, it just has to come out. And I just wanted to say too, I was thinking about Keshavi's question about, kind of balance, how do you pick and choose? And if you live in an ashram, if you live in the temple, you have a temple authority. If you have a guru, you have an authority. If you're married, you work with your partner. And that can be a shelter for that, to help you, determine what are your priorities. And if someone approaches us for service, or we feel like we have too much, talk about it with your mentor, your guide, and get guidance. And then as we mature, we get to know what, ahead of time even, what we can say yes to and what our bandwidth is. So that might be helpful.
I've had that kind of experience that you're mentioning, and it's pretty much ongoing because we go through different phases in our life and we may have opportunities for different kinds of service. So it's very important to have people in your life that you trust, that you can talk to. I remember making major decisions in my life about different things. Nirkula and I talk about it, and I have god brothers and some god sisters respected people in my life who will say, yeah, I'm embarking on this, what do you think? And getting several opinions from trusted people can help you make decisions about these types of things. Prabhupada said something about making decisions, you should get advice from 10 Brahmins or something like that. So it's good to have 10 Brahminical type people in your life that you can get advice from.
The last question for today from Hadari Khan Prabhu. In regards to the verse 5:18-12, the line Sarvai Gunas Tatra Samasate Sura is significant. Why do we see ourselves and devotees practicing Bhakti Yoga for some time? Why do we not see good qualities entering us and our consciousness or character is not really changing as much as it should be?
Look, there could be various reasons. Sometimes it's possible to become inattentive because of feeling entitled or taking the process for granted. And there's also a possibility that because of that inattention, I've become sort of indifferent to honoring devotees in a certain way. There could be offenses. That can also, as Prabhupada describes in the Nectar of Devotion, it can also stifle our taste. You can be demoted by disrespecting Vaishnavas. That's possible too. And setbacks in Krishna consciousness are not necessarily detrimental. That may sound contradictory, but oftentimes we make advancement in quantum leaps at different junctures in our life because we may continue for some time and then find ourselves at a seeming plateau. We may become very frustrated, or we may find ourselves overwhelmed by the material nature. And this can bring us back, if we're sincere, to a place of where we started in the first place, which is, Krishna, please help me. God, whoever you are, please show me the way. And remind us that it's our attitude about Krishna consciousness that's most important. We may get esteemed service and then mistake that for spiritual advancement and think because I have a title, therefore I'm advanced. Or we may think that because I'm older than other people or I'm from a certain generation, I'm more advanced. So Lord Chaitanya says, go back and start over. Chunadapi sini chena, toror iva sushishnuna, amanina, manadena kirtaniya sadahari. Go back to the basics and be very, very humble. And give respect to others, don't expect anything in return. And be very, very attentive to every little detail of your practice. That can become rote after a while. I have more to say, but that's a medium answer.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Relatively short, though. If you know what I'm saying. Okay. Thank you.